Has the Su-75 Checkmate been cancelled? Also, what's going on with the Su-57 Felon? Stick around and find out. Last year, amid much fanfare at the 2021 MAKS Airshow, Russia unveiled a mock-up of a new low-cost 5th-generation fighter, the Sukhoi Su-75 Checkmate. The model revealed at the Airshow was an early engineering prototype, essentially a full-scale wooden mock-up that was not airworthy. At the time, the announcement was seen as a boon for potential nations that were looking to upgrade their air forces to 5th-generation fighters, especially since the unit cost was quoted at somewhere between $25 to $30 million. For comparison, an F-35 today sells for about $80 million, leading many to believe that the quoted price for the Checkmate was going to be heavily subsidized by the Russian government. And while the Checkmate was technically going to be a 5th-generation fighter, most aviation experts agreed that it was not going to be on par with the F-35. So what exactly did the Checkmate promise to deliver? From an airframe design perspective, a prominent feature of the Checkmate is its wraparound angular ventral inlet, which shares commonality with a divertless supersonic inlet or DSI, which was previously used on the Boeing X-32 aircraft. Interestingly, the X-32 lost out to the X-35 in the Joint Strike Fighter competition. The DSI eliminates the need for a splitter plate, which would normally help control the airflow into the engine. The use of DSI is said to require less applications of radar-absorbing materials, thereby reducing costs. The DSI would also help maintain the Checkmate's stealth profile since the engine fan blades are concealed from radar emissions by making use of a curved ducted design for the air intake. Another feature revealed by the mock-up of the Checkmate was its use of rudder vaders, which are similar to the ones that were used on the YF-23 Black Widow. The use of rudder vaders can also keep costs low by eliminating the need for separate vertical and horizontal stabilizers with independently moving rudders and elevators. However, the use of rudder vaders would require the development of advanced flight control systems by Sukhoi, as neither the Su-35 Flanker E or Su-57 Felon used this control setup. Sharing a design feature with the Su-57 Felon, the Checkmate's wings are large enough to provide high lift efficiency, which led many to conclude that super maneuverability seems to be a priority in the design. More on the Felon later. When it came to armament, the Checkmate was stated to have a maximum payload of 16,000 pounds. Common to 5th-generation fighter designs, the Checkmate appeared to have small weapons bays on the sides of the fuselage, which likely would house short-range, heat-seeking air-to-air missiles, and a larger bay underneath the fuselage, which can house medium to long-range air-to-air missiles, air-to-ground missiles, or possibly even cruise missiles. For non-stealthy missions, external underwing hardpoints could be equipped and could allow for the mounting of larger weapons such as anti-ship or even hypersonic missiles. The Checkmate's software systems were said to be of an open architecture design. This, along with its intention of being an export fighter, would have allowed the Checkmate to carry non-Russian weapons and integrate them into its fire control systems. But first, if you enjoy learning about new topics and ideas, but don't always have time to read through entire long nonfiction books, then today's sponsor, Blinkist, is perfect for you. The Blinkist app helps you understand the most important things from over 5,500 nonfiction books and podcasts, usually in just 15 minutes. This allows you to learn much more in a shorter time frame. I'm actually going through the book series on using military strategy for business right now. One interesting takeaway from Jocko's book on leadership strategy and tactics is how good leadership stems from two fundamental components, the dichotomy of leadership and extreme ownership. Blinkist is a great app and provides exceptional value. I highly recommend trying it today. Right now, Blinkist has a special offer just for my audience. Click the link in the description below to start a free 7-day trial and then get 25% off a premium membership. Additionally, a new feature at no extra cost to you is Blinkist Connect, which allows you to share your subscription with someone for as long as you are sharing it with them. So you really are getting a 2-for-1 deal to share with your best friend or family. And remember, knowledge is power, so try Blinkist today. The Checkmate's cockpit layout was thought to have been similar to the Su-57, featuring an all-glass cockpit with two 15-inch multifunction displays. The mock-up also appeared to show a wide-angle heads-up display or HUD. The inclusion of a HUD was interesting, as the competitor to the proposed Checkmate was to be the F-35 Lightning. The F-35 does not incorporate a HUD, but rather uses a helmet-mounted display system or HMDS. This allows Lightning pilots to see flight and combat data at all times and is generally agreed upon as being superior to relying on just the HUD. At the same time the Checkmate was announced last year, a low-cost active electronically scanned array or ASA radar was also said to be in development. As of the making of this video, there have been no further updates. Along with the new radar system, the Checkmate was to be powered by a new engine. Few people realize that one of the more difficult parts of aircraft development and construction is the aircraft's power plant. It takes massive amounts of engineering, metallurgy, and quality control to produce a high-performance jet engine. Initial reports on the Checkmate indicated that the engine to be used would have been the NOP Saturn ISDALI 30, which is similar to the ones used in the Su-57M variant. The ISDALI 30 is intended to be about 30% lighter than its predecessor with about 20% more output. The planned thrust range is 24,300 pounds with thrust dry and about 38,000 pounds with thrust with afterburner. For comparison, the F-35's Pratt & Whitney F-135 engine puts out about 43,000 pounds of thrust with afterburner. At the time of last year's airshow, the UAE, India, Iran, Turkey, Vietnam, and Argentina had expressed interest in acquiring the Checkmate. Initial projections had the first prototype flying in 2023 and full-scale production starting in 2026. However, this was all before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Since the events of February of this year, most of the world has placed severe economic sanctions on Russia, and its economy has been crippled as a result. Many of the planned machinery, components, and materials required to produce the Checkmate have effectively been cut off, and the Russian aerospace industry has been severely impacted. Supply shortages for Russia's military have been well documented, calling into question how many material resources are available for research and development. The war in Ukraine has also caused a mass exodus of talent, with many Russians working in the tech sector fleeing to other countries as a result. Additionally, the UAE, who is said to be a key financial backer of the program, has pulled their funding for the project. Given these factors, it's probably a fair conclusion that Russia developing a fifth-generation, low-cost fighter like the Checkmate is very likely out of the question, or at best, has been delayed significantly. Despite all this, Russian officials are claiming that the Checkmate will have its first flight in 2024, a delay of only 1 year from the original timeline. This seems unlikely. What about the Su-57 Felon? Russia's other large fifth-generation fighter that was to compete with the F-22 Raptor has been plagued by manufacturing issues even before the war, and as of the making of this video, it is estimated that only between 3 and 15 Su-57s exist. Again, given the sanctions placed on Russia, it is likely that most of the operational Su-57s are suffering from low mission capable rates due to part shortages. For comparison, the US has some 170 F-22 Raptors and nearly 850 F-35 Lightnings have been delivered to the US and allies. Looking back a year later, the Checkmate was a gamble for the Russian aerospace industry and likely an attempt at luring foreign governments into providing funds for its development. The reality is that even if somehow the war in Ukraine ended today, Russia's aerospace industry has likely been set back years, possibly decades. Fourth-generation fighters are in the twilight of their careers, and the age of the fifth-generation fighter is well underway. Even if we assume that the Checkmate's development resumes in 5 years, would anyone be interested? After all, both the US and Europe are already at work on their sixth-generation platforms. The US is already working on, and some say flying, the next-generation Air Dominance or NGAD platform, while several nations in Europe are partnering to build the Future Combat Air System or FCAS. Additionally, the UK and Japan are said to be working on the Tempest fighter, another sixth-generation platform. When you put all this together, it seems that the Checkmate's window may have already closed before production even began. Want to learn more? Tap for the next video. Now you know.